We are live. Hello, everybody out there. We're waiting for you to find us, to join us. Right now, nobody has found us yet. I don't know how it's in the States, but here in Germany, it's Saturday evening. Usually we would be going out and have a great time in a pub, but right now we're staying all at home, so you should be showing up. But we still have to wait a bit, Kevin. I want to formally introduce you when people are coming. Ah, there they are. Great. So we can get started. Hello again. Please, if you can't hear us or see us, well, give us a little comment. I'm here today. Hi, Kirsten. I'm here today with Kevin Quigley from Vermont, I just learned. And first of all, hello, Kevin. It's very nice that you're here with me today.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I'm glad to be here.
And Kevin has a very interesting tarot project, which I thought would be interesting for you to know about, and of course for you to share, because it still needs some attention in the tarot world, I think. It's called Tarot Off the Cuff. It's a YouTube project. And Kevin, can you please tell me how you came up with this idea and what's it all about?
Sure. Well, I've been teaching tarot almost as long as I've been reading tarot, and I would say for this run, that's a little more than a couple of decades. I'm a musician by trade. I'm a performer by training and trade, and I'm far more interested in sort of the experimental, crazier, wilder arts, which can sometimes be difficult to sell tickets to, stuff that really stretches people's ears and they've got to really pay attention in a different way, even in New York City, where I lived while I was doing that work. So one of the structures that I came up with to produce shows that really filled our performance halls, that got enough of an audience there, is I would invite, between 8 and 16 different groups or different acts to come bring and share a short piece, which then meant a couple of things. One, nobody had to over-prepare. No one was doing a full hour performance. They were all doing just little 5-minute sets. But everybody brought their audience to the show. So when 12 people are all bringing audience members, you get a lot of people that are interested in what's happening. And then you also start to build a community where people that didn't know my group got to see my group, and the people that didn't know your group got to see yours, right? So then we started to spread the word that way, and it was really successful. So I did that for about 10 years just as a performing artist. And then moving up to Vermont, which is a rural state in the United States, it's very quiet up here and the population density is low. I started to think about what ways I could use that model in the other kinds of things that I do, and in tarot in particular. So the idea for Tarot Off the Cuff is what in the United States for the musical stuff I would call a performer's potluck. You're invited, and then you bring whatever you happen to have on the table, right? So for the tarot thing, after attending lots of different conventions and teaching at some of them and then taking classes at some of them, I realized everybody has something to offer that's working with these cards, and it's all so different and so interesting that I thought, oh, a YouTube channel is the way to go. And rather than having just me talk about my own point of view, much more interesting to invite a dozen different tarot readers to come on, and they present their things, right? They get to say what they have to say. And then there's another little wrinkle here. As a musician, I'm also an improviser, and as a tarot reader, some of the classes I teach are in how you improvise while you're using the cards, because that's pretty much what we're doing. We are laying some cards down, and we respond, and we react to them in real time and have a conversation.
Yeah.
So, right, so tarot readers are very good improvisers. So the challenge that I put forward, rather than asking people to prepare lessons, is just draw a card. Pull a card out of the deck and let that lead you to a topic. And rather than talk about the card, you know, it's so There's so many sources out there to learn what the Seven of Swords is really about, right? But if you draw a card and then think, oh, what kind of conversation inspired by the Seven of Swords might be useful to people that are interested in working with the tarot, and then talk about that. That's stuff that doesn't get talked about very often, those kinds of things. So that is the birth of the channel. And it took a couple of years until COVID hit. And then as a musician, I realized, oh gosh, all of my rehearsal and performance income is gone. So I'm going to need something to do with that time. One of the projects I picked up was finally getting tarot off the cuff, off the ground.
And when did this start? Last year?
Yeah, so we started gathering readers and video content in August of last year, and we went live, I want to say in September, shortly after that. It's a very, very direct sort of chain. People draw a card, they talk in front of a camera for 10 or so minutes, and then they send me the video, and then I drop in all of the tarot off the cuff branding and stuff like that, do a short intro, and it's good to go. Not much, it's not a high overhead that way, which is another really nice part of the project.
So in the first round there were 12 people?
The first round we had 10 readers included total. There were 2 others. We did start with a number 12. We like the spiritual number 12. But then 2 of them hit speed bumps in their own lives, and especially with COVID about. So we had 10 content producers ready to go. And then with round 2, which started just a couple of weeks ago, we've doubled that number. So you're going to see a lot more faces coming on.
Yeah, I tried myself to do it. I sent you some videos, and as you said, it was quite a challenge, I have to say. I mean, to draw a card is okay because, yeah, we always improvise. That's for sure. But to say something about it on a teaching basis, I found it quite difficult to come up with this. And I think this was a challenge for everybody. Would you say?
I think so. Depending on sort of your background and the way that you teach or use tarot, for some it's relatively smooth, and for others it's a big challenge. But I will say that the people that I've talked to that found it difficult are producing really great work because they're so awake while they're doing it. You know?
Yeah, it's also about all the lightning, and you gave loads of introductions how to do it. I was quite overwhelmed, but I'm quite looking forward to the result. It's really a lovely project. Yeah, Kirsten says it's a cool idea. Yeah, that's what I think too, Kirsten. And that's why I wanted to introduce it to you out there, because you really should go and look at it. We're going to show a short clip in a moment, but before we do this, do you combine music and tarot in some way at all?
I do. Interesting that you ask. Oftentimes when I teach at a large convention, I just got into the habit. I would pull a card out of a deck and I would vocally improvise. I would just sing whatever sort of came into my mind to start a teaching section. You know, so just a minute or so of that. And then that gave me the idea that, writing a song, you know, sort of a jazz or a pop song for each of the major arcana cards needs to be a project. And I started doing that right away. I'm almost, I want to say I'm about 80% through the major arcana, and I've got songs for more than half of them that are finished and ready to go. Maybe someday I'll be able to get them recorded. And the Tarot Off the Cuff theme song is my unfinished but well-started song for the World card.
Oh, no, I skipped it for the video we're going to show.
You'll hear it at the beginning and end of everything. Yeah,
okay. That's good. Yeah, that's interesting. So you're composing them, and later we'll make an album with this?
That's the hope, yeah.
It's really nice. I know there are some people have made music on the cards, but I can't remember anybody who has done all the 22. I think there's one German band in the 70s who did it, but it's a great project. I like it. And the other thing I wanted to know is you are somehow connected to the Tarot School in New York. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a bit about this Tarot School? Because it's not very well known in Germany, but I think it's a huge thing in the States, right?
Yeah, they're a pretty big deal. I respect them a lot. So it's created by and run by Ruth Ann and Wald Amberstone. They do tarot classes in a lot of different ways, but even before the internet got started, they would do teleclasses where an entire group from all over the world would actually call in, and then they would have materials that they would send to you to read and study, and then they would do a class once a week. And I believe they're still doing some of these teleclasses, although I bet you they've moved to Zoom or Skype, video versions of that. I haven't checked in with them on that. But right about the time when I was getting back into tarot reading for real, this would be in my mid-30s. I want to say it's close. It would be the late 90s, 97, 98. I was engaged with a very active online tarot community using Yahoo groups, if you remember those strange little things.
I remember, yeah.
You get digest emails at the end of the day, and then you'd follow the conversations that you were interested in and then contribute your own. And they started advertising the Reader's Studio, which is the name of their convention. And I want to say that was in 2000 or 2001. I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And it was right next door. I lived in Manhattan, and they were putting the Reader Studio on in Queens, which is just a short bridge ride away. So I signed up immediately. And it was there at that first convention, which was my first exposure to other people that read tarot in person, that I actually realized, oh my gosh, I actually know what I'm doing. I'm pretty good. I know what this stuff is. And I went home and started taking clients right away because of that convention. Maybe even let me tell you a little bit about it, because they do something at their convention which I think is brilliant. From the first convention all the way to now, 20 years later, is you are encouraged to sit down to next to somebody you don't know, and you exchange right away a 10-minute 3-card reading. So you do 3 cards for this new person, and they do 3 cards for you. You have to take notes, copious notes, and remember what all of your cards are. Then you go through a whole weekend. You take a minimum of 3 main stage classes. These are 3-hour-long classes with, on any number of different things. And then in the later evenings, there are smaller classes and things that you learned. And the very last thing you do before you leave is you sit down, you find the person you did your first reading with, and you don't just do a whole new reading. You literally pull out the same cards that you pulled out on the first day, and you use the new techniques you learned.
Wow.
How do these things affect? So that when you actually get up and you're ready to go home and you're saying goodbye to everyone, you really know the new skills that you've picked up. Like, it's evident right there. I just think that is one of the most fabulous things I've experienced at a convention.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think we should look at this in Germany when we do next time. Meeting in person, which won't happen so quickly. The convention in New York is not happening this year, you said, right?
Right. We're still off for COVID. I believe that they're going to get it up and running for 2022. It's always in the spring, either April or May.
Okay. Marion is afraid that it's 3-hour-long classes. I'm sure there's a break in between, right?
Oh, yeah. There's lots of breaks. And really, at the end of the day, everybody's an adult. So if you're getting tired or need to get up and step out of a class, you just do and return. Attendance at them has been growing almost every year. And I think they're generally at a point where it's about 200 readers at a convention on average. Yeah.
And it's for all levels of knowledge?
That is a great question. I would say yes, and then put a little asterisks next to that.
Okay. So you should know something about tarot when you go there.
Well, it's very welcoming, and the people that I have talked to who there's a fair number of them that have just picked up a deck a couple of weeks before and then dove in, have loved their experience, but it is intended mostly for people that can work their way around a deck to some degree, right? You'll get more out of the convention if you've got a little bit of work under your belt. Yeah.
Do they do any, you said they did teleclasses, but do they do now any stuff online? People could join here in Germany?
And in fact, I'm still most in contact with them with Facebook. The Readers Studio has a Facebook group, and
I didn't know this.
Yeah, and I'm going to just see if they're on what they've got going on.
Because I will put this in the show notes then.
Yeah, if you go to readerstudio.com, they've got a temporary website up, and then once COVID has passed, you'll get to see it. But oh, here we go. The tarotschool.com. That's going to take you to get more information from them directly.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, I will put this into the show notes, so anybody who wants to join should have a look at this. It's my goal to go there one of these days, but at present it's a bit difficult to...
Yeah, I can imagine. It really, the tarot community by and large, but especially at this particular convention, is the most welcoming group of people that I know.
Yeah, I always see pictures from this when people are posting it while they're at the convention. So I'm really envious that I can't go yet, but one day I will.
We'll get you there, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I'm just looking if there are any questions about the project, but that's not the case. People are a bit slow today. Might be that they are going out, though they're not allowed to go out. I don't know. Perhaps I just showed to you the video clip, which Kevin has prepared. It's by a really lovely guy. We skipped the intro now, and if it's just not working immediately, he's called Joe Montega, right?
Monteleone.
Monteleone. And
a million letters in there, yeah.
And you know him, he's living also in New York, or where does he live?
He lives in New Jersey, but just across the river, he can see Manhattan from his house.
Lucky guy.
Yeah, he does a lot of different things, and was one of the readers that usually I go out of my way and I find the people that might be a good fit for the project. And in this case, a friend of mine, a choreographer that I've worked with a lot, said, "Oh, I just met somebody that seems perfect for your channel," and she was absolutely right. So I got in contact with him right away once I saw his YouTube content. He's got his own channel, and knew he was perfect for the project.
And why choreographer? You also do ballet music, or?
Yeah, so I am a composer and make music like crazy. And when I was living in Manhattan, I was working with dance makers all the time, all the way from ballet into contemporary styles. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. You are very versatile in many fields, obviously. So I will show you the video now. I hope I do it correctly. I have to bring it add to stream. Yeah, I got it. It's Joe, and now I have to make it move.
I'm Joe Monteleone, aka
Yes.
Joe, and you are watching Tarot Off the Cuff. I will be using the famous Goth deck by Aleister Crowley and Lady Frida Harris, and be pulling a random card to discuss it on top.
I really like your layout, by the way. It's lovely.
Oh, thank you.
We have the Star. Awesome. Okay. So the Star card. Hopes, dreams, direction, individuality, healing. But on a more esoteric lens, what we're really talking about is space. And that's what I'd like to discuss with you today. Space as an ontological concept, metaphysically or scientifically, and then also space using the concept in practice, in manifestation, in circumstances, and in self-development. So first, space was a popular idea of studying quantum physics, right? So we had the Newtonian universe, which is where Newton said, okay, things knock into each other. So from that frame of mind, if you want to attract something, if you want to manifest something, you're going to think, well, if I want this job, then I have to do this. I have to go to school, study this thing, and then I have to get this skill, and then I have to do that, and that's going to bump into this, and maybe I'll see the right person, hopefully, and blah, blah, blah. Whereas the quantum view, which kind of threw all that away, as we kind of really zoom into like particles that are kind of weird, they're waves, they're particles, they're wavicles, we don't even know. When we start looking at things through that lens, it's more so about working with space, probability, possibility, and admitting that things can literally show up out of thin air and then disappear. This might be a stretch, and honestly, I wouldn't believe it if it didn't work for me. I'm kind of utilitarian with my woo-woo and magic and stuff, and let me tell you, this type of mentality has really changed the game for me. So the biggest thing you're going to want to do is ask yourself, what energy and space can I be to create this thing? Because when we're in the Newtonian universe, we're thinking about who we already are, who we are from our history, from our projected future, from what we are relative to the things and people and communities and places around us. Whereas when we're looking through the quantum view of space and possibility, where the atom is 99.99999% space, it's more about creating the mind that will have the thing you want. So this is why gratitude is such an important thing. This is why when people say, if you want something, have gratitude for what you already have that's related to it. And it really does work, because gratitude is asking the universe for more of that thing. The opposite of that, you could say, would be worrying, which is praying for disaster. Yeah? So with space, you're going to want to create the mind that has what you're looking for. The biggest thing to remember is that this mind and the associated feelings and actions are not the mind from the past. So in some ways, you're really reinventing yourself. And this is honestly really, really hard. That's why the star card is so beautiful. It's because she's there naked, dropping, releasing all of this liquid. You know, she doesn't care who's around. She is shedding all these layers of the past for this moment of healing and recreating herself. Those layers of the tower that were just ripped out from under you, that's kind of the name of the game. So I want to teach you a practical method that we can use to really take this concept into action. So, you know, sometimes the most fun and most pleasurable part of an experience is right at the beginning. For example, like you just got this delicious donut, and like the first bite is always the best, right? And like you're gonna finish it probably, but like that, nothing beats that first bite, right? Sometimes it's almost like better before you even take the bite, because that anticipation, right? Another example is like when you get to a party or an event or something you're excited for, and the first moment you get there, you see everybody and everything, and you know, maybe not in 2020, but in the quantum world, 2021, and then it doesn't get worse necessarily after that point, but nothing beats that first, like, wow, the Disney castle, here it is, right? So when I'm at work or at an event or doing something, and maybe I'm starting to get bored and I'm starting to think in terms of me as I was historically, me in relationship to all these things. I'm starting to put definitions on things, and I'm starting to kind of slow down, and, you know, things feel repetitive or just kind of monotonous. I will ask myself, what would I feel like if I just got here? What would I feel like if I just got to the party? What would I feel like if I just got the donut? What would I feel like if I just opened my emails and I didn't just answer 30 of them, right? It kind of starts to open up. It releases the historical mind, it releases the Newtonian mind, and it brings up the quantum mind. And I found that using this technique has really opened up possibilities, because I start behaving in a more fun, spontaneous, and curious way, as opposed to a more robotic and reactive way. And by doing that, I invite more positive outcomes. It's because it's kind of telling the universe, yeah, I'm actually open to all of this. I am appreciating it. I am taking ownership of my choice to be here for everything that's here no matter what, instead of, oh, I only want the good parts. I only want the high points of today's job, of today's tasks, of today's to-do lists. And it kind of reinstates your motivation for everything. So I just got here. Another way that we can use space in a practical way is in relationships, okay? So as a reader of 18 years, I gotta say, probably 70% of what I get asked from my clients is about relationships, especially when I'm doing online readings. And one fun question I like to ask my clients, especially after a really bad breakup, is what is the space that this person left you with offering you? And most of the time, I can honestly say that the space is more valuable than the person, because they wouldn't leave if they were right for you. Something wasn't right. And then when we look at it in that quantum way, where things can appear and disappear at a blink of an eye, we start to take more ownership of the experience. And same thing as the technique I just talked about, is we start to create and own and recognize our choices, as opposed to react from the mind of the historical self. And then when there is space, when there's someone missing, you get out of the illusion of lack and into the possibility of creation. The mind is space. That's how I conceptualize it. I mean, the mind isn't space, but it feels like space. So I was never a big meditator, but when I finally pushed myself through to really make some progress with meditation, I realized how much space the mind actually occupies. And when you can own that space, you can start to see where you are letting in these unwanted tendencies, habits, emotions, feelings, thoughts, which are all interconnected. Because thoughts, feelings, actions are kind of like a cyclical loop. They inform each other. So when we want to change one of those, we really want to become aware of all the space that the mind occupies, which is a lot. It's 70,000 thoughts a day. I mean, that's a lot of thoughts to be responsible for. But once you start to monitor those and not let one thought go untouched, everything's going through the metal detector, then we can really start to see the loops or the patterns that we're living in. And they can be good ones. They don't all have to be bad. Another technique I like to use is the expansion technique. So I use this technique a lot when I'm kind of feeling a little bit insecure, or if I'm kind of like not the most confident, if I'm going into like a presentation or with a client. I just allow myself to expand energetically. I imagine my body expanding past the limits of the physical world. And that normally not just brings me more confidence, but it stops people from being able to look down on me and to judge me. And that's another use of space. So today we discussed space, looking at it through a scientific lens, using space as kind of a mental practice for creating spontaneity, curiosity, and opening up to possibilities. We discussed space in relationships, and then we discussed space for your own confidence. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know down below what your thoughts of space are and the star card. And yeah, let's stay in touch. I'm Joe Monteleone. This is Tarot Off the Cuff. I've been using the Thoth deck to discuss space. Thank you so much for watching.
Yes, Kirsten. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I just needed to read something in German there. He's very nice, Joe. I mean, he's very good in phrasing what he has to say, though I think it's very heady.
Yeah, his style combines sort of a really intellectual and a really practical mode. Yeah.
I really have to rewatch this video, and this is just one example of many Kevin is going to put up in the coming weeks. You said it's always one on Tuesday and one on Thursday, right?
Correct. Yeah, and I would say, I think at this point we've got about 50 hours worth of content already up. So if you go to YouTube and search for tarot off the cuff, you're going to find a ton of responses. It's there.
Yeah, it's really a great project, and I also like to have these very short videos of many people, because as you said at the beginning with the musicians, it's very nice to just have an impression of somebody, and instead of just watching an hour-long talk, and see whether you want to know more about this person or not. It's a really great idea to do this like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Somebody compared Joe just to the Knight of Swords. So,
he would like that very much. Yeah,
I think he would like this as well. Is he a dancer? Because he looks a bit like.
He is. Yeah, he's a dancer and a circus performer. So he does juggling and ring work and all sorts of stuff.
That's fun. And he does tarot on stage then. As a
I don't know. I'll ask if he brings the tarot onto the stage or not. Yeah.
Who else is going is in this round of the Tarot of the Cards?
Yeah, there's quite a few of us. Another brand new reader that I found is Kim Cooley Hall. She has her own channel on YouTube as well called The Abundant Life Tarot. We've gone live with her already. And she's in the Dominican Republic, I believe, at the moment. Or Jamaica. It's one of the two. She's in the Caribbean. We've also gone live with a Minneapolis reader, Lily. Oh my gosh, her last name just left my head. I just put her live a couple of days ago. Lily McNamara. There we go. And she's younger but extremely vibrant and very experienced as a reader. So she's really great. Who else is in there? Prudence Tarot is from upstate New York. She's someone that I've known from the Reader's Studio conventions for years. And she is also sort of an improv actor and stand-up comedian type of person who has a really great balance between intuitive, practical tarot techniques and performance practice. So we'll be getting her live pretty quickly, and then the list goes on and on and on. We've got people in Australia, in New Zealand, lots from all over the United States, and then a couple of others are getting content. One from Europe right here, and one other from South America. So and another from China that hopefully I'll be able to get some content from soon. So as we expand, we're also trying to get perspectives that are all over the place from every imaginable lens.
And you want to do a round every half year now, or what's the plan?
The hope is that if I continue to make these as easy produce, pull a card, talk for 10 minutes. Almost always the content that I'm being sent in that I receive is really pretty good in terms of the quality of what the things people have to say. I would love to be able to release 2 videos a week from here until YouTube disappears. We're also expanding. So we've done 2 of these already. This was an experimental idea that I had, and they've worked fairly well, where 2 readers go online at the same time, and they'll choose a topic. The ones that we've done in the past is, how do you deal with division, where people in a situation are really, really on opposite sides of an issue, and then another was, how do you deal with luck and spark of magic and whatnot. And then 2 readers will draw some tarot cards to talk about that topic. And those go a little bit longer. So there's a couple of on there. If you do a search through our content, you'll see 2 videos right now that are about an hour long, with 2 readers talking back and forth. But the same kind of way. There's no real preparation other than we choose the topic before we start talking.
I love this as well. And this is on the same channel, or?
Yes.
Okay. So Kirsten, yes, it's on YouTube, as Kevin said. The link is in the show notes. You just need to go to the show notes to go there. And I would love everybody who watches this video now or later to subscribe to the channel, because it's really a fantastic project. I totally love it. And don't forget to ring the bell. It's very important, as you know. I was taught this sentence by my 12-year-old boys.
Oh, yeah.
It's really funny what they teach us now. Yeah, I think that's about it. You seem, I hear your phone ringing all the time. You seem to be a very...
Yeah, I'm a diabetic, and I've got a little alarm going off. It's nothing to worry about, but it's one that I really cannot turn off. Yeah.
Okay, this sounds not alarming. As long as it's not the capital, it's...
Yeah, and as a musician, having an alarm that's attached to my body that I cannot turn off is incredibly difficult. Usually I'll actually unplug it from my body and leave it in the car, so I can do an hour-long performance without it.
Okay, that sounds okay. Well, then I will leave you to your alarm, and I think people will have all the information they need. And thanks for sparing this time. I know you are a very busy man. And
what's going on? Yeah.
We will come back once everybody has subscribed to the channel. We will do another video and ask more people to subscribe.
Yeah, I would love to. And then we can take some questions or something along those lines.
Exactly.
And even pull out a deck of cards, perhaps. Yeah.
Yes, let's do that. That would be really fun. We could do the "you say, she says, he says" project or something.
Well, I love that. Yeah. That's basically the format of the longer talks. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this format as well. I always used to read it in the women's magazines and really enjoyed it, but I don't have any more time to read magazines. Strange.
Right. Yeah. Who does? Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, people are saying thank you. They liked what you do, but there are no questions for the time being. You learn some German, and then we do the project in German.
Yeah, cool.
That will be fun as well. Okay, so everybody out there, have a great evening or afternoon or whatever you're doing when you're watching this. Oh, the alarm is going on again.
Yeah, there it goes. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody out there, I will be back next week. And Kevin, you know how to get in contact with him now.
Yeah, you'll see me a lot online. Great. Gute Nacht.
Gute Nacht.